After the lightning, the bells ring on the main peak. There is an old saying in world-EP06-a. The main peak bell rings. Life or death is inevitable. This means convening the leaders of one thing to discuss major issues. Wando Mountain has the Tito at its operations. Unless it's an emergency, they won't all be called together at the same time. In Jianfeng Hall, tens of thousands of people sat down at the same time, seeing a dense crowd of people. Jacob at its operations, who was sitting on the main seat at the front, looked solemn. There are 2 top chairs beside him. This belongs to the Presbyterian Church and the Penal Hall. The following is sorted according to the strength of each peak. Anthony stands in front of Jacob. He looked at the moving heads below and shouted, "Time is up." Below, Anfang disciples filed out. Register for this conference. Tyler often travels with the peak masters and elders. Or maybe the retreat has reached a critical moment and cannot participate in the meeting. Newspaper, the Tito 1000 Peaks of Wando Mountain. 31,800 people should arrive. There are actually 28 other people at the unreached peak. The Presbyterian Church is responsible for delivering the results of the proceedings. The conference begins. The end of the main hall. The peak masters in front can still get a chair. When you get here, you can only pick up a small bench. Michael is sitting on the bench, looking around. First time attending this kind of meeting. Brother, what are you going to say in this meeting? He patted the little old man chin and key next to him. Michael asked, curiously. The little old man made a loud gesture, signaling Michael to keep his voice down. Recently, Feng Shao Station troops in Qingshan. The Empress of Qin ascends the throne. I think it has something to do with this matter. I took a look at Michael, who was dressed strangely. The whole body is shrouded in black clothes. There's a mask on his face. The old man asked rather vigilantly, "I don't know which peak master you are." "Brother, I am Wang Tianhui, the master of Mayon Mountain Peak. Just took office recently." The old man frowned and thought about it for a long time, but he couldn't remember Ma Anshan. But from the sound of Wang Tianhui's voice, it seems that she is not very old. I immediately want to make friends. It turns out to be the master of Tianhui Peak. Maya, for a long time. Nice to meet you. The 2 of them had a good chat. Michael shared with Liang's thrilling battle against the lazy donkey llama master. Liang told Michael about the twists and turns of his journey to immortality. When the words go deep, I wish I could worship him on the spot, because I'm too involved. Even when a standing figure appeared next to Yuan, the 2 of them didn't notice it. The peak masters, please speak up. My master is speaking. Anthony's cold voice sounded behind him, and Michael turned around and looked. A moment when 2 eyes intersect. Anthony swallowed back the words he originally wanted to scold. "Brother Hu Tian, this is the summit meeting. How are you joining in the fun? You can all participate. I can tie. Michael is too lazy to pay attention to him. Looking back, I want to continue talking to Liang. But at this time, the little old man already looked dignified, listening to Jacob's speech with a respectful expression. I also took out a pen and paper in my hand. Take notes very carefully. Anthony holds for it. How that things have come to a point, it's hard for him to kick Michael out. The most important thing is that this guy may not listen to advice. And Brother Hu Tian, just sit here and listen. Stop talking to others. Seeing Anthony's leaving figure and Anamaya's leaving figure, Michael's eyes widened slightly. Something's wrong with Anthony. In front of the main hall. After a procedural opening, Jacob finally got to the point. It turns out that the holy son of the monster race fell into the human race territory for some reason. A white tiger demon king invades the human race under the guise of revenge for his son. Already at war with Huifeng Holy Land, Michael touched his chin. Speaking of white tiger, he remembered something. When I killed KYOK Suigetsu before, the other party seemed to turn into a white old man. How could it be such a coincidence? Shook his head. Get rid of distracting thoughts. Continue to listen carefully. At this time, the Jacob above said more and more excitedly, "The momentum of reaching the star realm is fully unleashed. Amazing power. I wonder, Ocean, as a human sect, how can we watch Huifeng Holy Land fight alone? From now on, preparing for war. If the demon clan steps out of the 100,000 mountains, I want the Ocean. I'm the second line of defense, and you don't retreat." Anthony and all the Tianfeng disciples in the crowd shouted along. I refuse to retreat. It looks like the atmosphere is set off very well. Jacob pressed his hand. From today, the task hall opens the task of killing monsters. All disciples above the foundation building stage can receive it. And Michael's eyes light up. You must know that the demon race is full of treasures, plus mission hall rewards. It's a double happiness. Although fighting against monsters is extremely dangerous, but there is nothing dangerous about cultivating immortals. So what if I hide in the edge of the sword? Yesterday, he was almost interrupted by a Chuo Shian. The tigress at home only knows how to help others. If it weren't for Olivia, this swordsman wouldn't be able to stay there for a day. Think of this. Michael immediately stood up, raised his fists and shouted, "Kill the demon clan, earns spiritual stones. Kill the demon clan, earns spiritual stones." In the distance, Jacob heard a response from the Peak Master in the temple, feeling happy. As long as the backbone of the monks from world-EP06-a is still there, the murderous intention is still there, and the demon clan will never even think about stepping out of the 100,000 mountains. This world. He turned to look at the place where he was drinking. The smile on his face disappeared in an instant. He turned around and glared at Alexander sitting next to him, making the latter look confused. A conference lasted until late in the evening. Among them, Jacob is basically mobilizing. Once the demon clan breaks through and returns to the Holy Land, world-EP06-a will face the demon clan. Naturally, we should be very cautious about this matter. Early the next morning, Michael came to the mission hall to accept the mission of destroying demons. The hall was full of people. It seems that Jacob's words yesterday were very effective. Ondo Mountain is said to have millions of immortals. Most of them are in the foundation building stage and elixir forming stage. As far as I can see, the mountain is full of people. He squeezed hard all morning and couldn't squeeze in. I had no choice but to return to Chongqing dejectedly. These days, no matter what I do, the competition is too fierce. That night, he and Olivia were the only ones left on the mountain. Yao Yao, are you afraid of sleeping alone at night? Brother, let me tell you a story. Olivia, who was hiding in the bamboo house, lay her whole body under the quilt and shivered. She is not afraid of the dark or ghosts. The main thing is that I'm afraid of Michael. This guy has been muttering in front of her door all night. Didn't leave sadly until morning. Looks quite angry. Plus his large black robe and face surging with red mist. Olivia was so scared that she didn't even dare to leave the door. Asshole, they target me. What do you mean? Only those who are above the foundation building stage can take on quests. Look down on my key training period. I still remember the look in his eyes. He looks down on me. Down Yao. Please open the door. Let me tell you about the faces of those people. Yao Yao didn't dare to sleep in bed this time. The whole person huddled at the foot of the bed. Senior brother, I've gone to bed. Now Michael wears teeth outside the door. If Olivia doesn't open the door, he has no choice but to leave. Halfway through, he suddenly paused. Although Olivia is a peerless sort, but there are countless geniuses in Wando Mountain. Maybe it wasn't meant to be a reference from her. His eyes lit up when he thought of this. Suddenly I have a new goal. Hanfeng Bie, Aimuho, and Funny, who have been dealing with things all day, is stretched out due to the war between the Demon Clan and Tuafeng Holy Land. He is responsible for internal coordination. The extremely numerous affairs made him quite exhausted these past 2 days, and he returned to his residence. He fell on the bed and was about to fall asleep. It's really too mentally draining. Intrusion detected. Please, host, be more vigilant. He just lay down and suddenly jumped up. A sharp look flashed across his face. There was even more fear in my heart. I didn't expect that Xiaoxia would dare to sneak into the town fan of world-EP06-a Mountain. If the system hadn't reminded him, he almost got killed. Clue, him out. His consciousness swept through the room and found nothing strange. I got up and walked around my residence. Even if my spiritual consciousness has not discovered anything, I still dare not take anything lightly. Weird. I turned around twice and sat back down on the bed again. Anthony shook his head. It's probably because I've been too nervous recently and had hallucinations. He talks to himself. Lie down on the bed. Close your eyes and fall asleep. Soon there was a slight snore. Another half hour. A candlelight in front of Anthony's bed suddenly flickered. A dark shadow slowly walked out from behind the gauze curtain. His huge body is hidden under black robe, wearing a silly panda mask on his face. Anthony's eyebrows trembled slightly on the bed. The left hand hidden under the quilt pinched the fingers. As when I was about to make a move, I felt my sea of consciousness and heartstring break. Oops, consciousness is tricked. He was shocked. Custom warnings are ringing in my head like crazy, but it's useless. His consciousness has fallen into chaos. All thought stopped for a moment. Is this what death feels like? It's so inexplicably familiar. The green hills in the early morning are full of fog. The sound of morning exercises gradually sounded outside the house. Some disciples asked out of curiosity, "Brother Wuji, haven't you gotten up yet?" Usually he is the first. I get up at midnight. I saw that the candles in Brother Wuji's house were still lit. I guess I've been under a lot of pressure recently. I vaguely heard my name, and thought he woke up suddenly in the room. He was breathing heavily. Now, check your own situation in a panic. I saw that my whole body had been stripped clean. There were also some marks written with a brush on the abdomen and chest. Not only that, he feels weak now. System, what happened? The voice in my head falters. Dad, please express condolences to the host. After a while, Anthony's extremely angry voice sounded into Yanfeng the Aimu Palace. Even the disciples who were fetching water at the foot of the mountain heard it true. Michael, I'm at odds with you. He had just come down from Layan Peak at this time, frowning deeply. I was even more certain that something was wrong with Anthony, because the other party's spiritual roots seem to have been planted the day after tomorrow. There are slight differences between the spiritual roots of other geniuses in subtle ways. Don't be too early to determine. This matter requires more research. As the war with the demon tribe becomes more and more intense, there are fewer and fewer disciples in the mountains. From time to time, disciples who were seriously injured on the front lines were sent back. Michael stood on the mountain road and watched the warships leaving one after another. The war has started and Darkin has not yet taken action. No matter how you look at this matter, it seems weird. Just that a sparrow flew from the mountain. It made a circle on the sword's edge and then stopped on Michael's shoulder. The sparrows are chirping and I don't know what they are saying. Michael turned and walked up the mountain. Go back and tell him, don't worry, everything is God's best arrangement. I fed the sparrow a few pine nuts. After the little guy was full, he flew up again and disappeared into the mountains and forests. Olivia, the senior brother is back. Did you miss me? It's quiet on the mountain. No response. Michael is used to it too. He has gained a lot of insights from conducting physical examinations for many geniuses in world-EP06-a in recent days. Some things that I hadn't thought about before suddenly became clear. I had him carefully examine Olivia's spiritual roots and maybe he can completely solve his problem. But she is my junior sister after all. It's better to do it step by step. Inside Tunfane Hall, a bunch of talented people gathered here. They held signs in their hands and expressed their anger. They want to see Brother Wuchi. They want to see the Lord. I-Z-H-N-T-N. Report Junfing Michael with my real name. Shameless dog thief knocked on my sap while I was sleeping. There's something wrong to me. I, Li Ju, will also sue him. Sneak into my house in the middle of the night. Take off my clothes. Anthony's face looks like a bitter melon. Although these people are reporting, but no one has any evidence. Everyone was unconscious after being attacked. Finally, he was stripped naked and studied. After waking up, I could only see Michael's back walking down the mountain in a hurry. Anthony has nothing to do if he gets this matter. You can only go to the top of the mountain to report Jacob. On the back mountain, dense green willows grow along the road. The attic courtyard is looming among the willow branches. A pavilion appears in the distance through the willow shade. There are two people sitting opposite each other in the pavilion, playing chess. One of them is Jacob. The other person is an old man with white beard and hair. His face is similar to G. Gentle demeanor. Looks approachable. Master, junior sister. This is really too much. Last time I broke my 100 palace. Later, he got together with that Huoxiang guy again. Out to my elixir pavilion to steal a drink. Now I heard that it is not honest to go to Huifeng Holy Land. 2 days ago, the elders of Huifeng Holy Land complained to me. Had me change the leader of the peak. The old man stroked his beard and chuckled, with doting on his face. She is the youngest among your senior brothers and sisters. Just be naughty. As a senior brother, you have to take care of yourself. Don't lose the status of being a senior brother. Jacob grimaces, quite resentful. It's obviously the junior sister who is messing around. As a result, Master said that my structure is small. Who can I talk to explain this? At this time, Anthony came closer, bowed to the two of them. Disciple pays homage to Master. Meet the Master. He's a good boy. That's cultivation at such a young age. Promise, you came here, but something happened over there at Huifeng Holy Land. Anthony shook his head. Nothing happens over there. The fight was back and forth. Besting each other brings harm to each other. But something happened at home, which gave him quite a headache. The geniuses from all peaks gathered in Baimu Hall. Pursue Junfing Michael. Complain. Why don't you go to the Law Enforcement Hall? Master, the new head of the hall, David, has not fully recovered since he was injured by Michael. The master of the Torture Hall, Uncle Ethan, shields Michael. All the disciples also cried and complained that there was no way. The old man frowned slightly. When did the Wandao sect become so chaotic? There is no place for injustice. And I lowered his head in embarrassment. Hell's the most important treason. The main thing is that no one caught the evidence of this teasing. The old man is full of curiosity. There isn't much new in this green mountain. It's nothing more than fighting for strength and courage. A murder and grab treasure. Or maybe Taoist couples are jealous of each other. How capable is this, Michael? He actually offended the geniuses of all the peaks at the same time. So I couldn't help but ask. But what on earth did he do? I heard the ancestor ask. Anthi's face flashed with sadness and anger. This thief took advantage of the disciples to relax their guard. Or put in a sack. Or knock a sap. Or directly seal the soul. Knocking people unconscious and then stripping them of their clothes. Explore people's background. Extremely abominable. Looking at Anthony's face full of anger, something strange appeared on Jacob's face. Disciple, are you? and thought he was furious before he finished speaking. I am innocent. That Michael uses methods to get dirty. How can you plot against me? Seeing his concealed, panic expression, neither Jacob asked again. Whose disciple is this Michael? Jacob mouthed. Junior sisters. The old man couldn't help stroking his beard and chuckled. Isn't this a coincidence? Master just finished telling Master. The apprentice came to accuse the apprentice again. I am somewhat interested in meeting Master. Jacob then told Michael's situation again. To sum up, the cultivation level is not high. Very strong. Character does whatever one wants. It's a scourge of King Shan. Master, after investigation, the holy son of the demon clan was probably killed by Michael. So I deliberately excluded it from supporting the return to Big Holy Land this time. The old man snorted coldly. Must a demon clan saint's son? Kill. Just kill. It was Michael who interested him quite a bit. He immediately stood up and stretched. You to continue to discuss matters in the mountain. It's hard for me to come out. Old man, look around. As he spoke, his figure disappeared. Already unknown whereabouts. On a sword peak. After Michael was busy in front of the bamboo forest for a while. Olivia, coming out soon. I made you a swing. See no noise. He held his chin and thought for a while. Olivia, brother caught a beautiful butterfly. If you don't come again, I'll let you go. But Michael sat helplessly on the blue stone of the mountain path. He has tried his best. And now Olivia is like a frightened bird. No chance at all. Senior brother's majesty has been lost. How difficult it is to establish it again. As when he thought the matter was hopeless. A little head popped up from behind the bamboo forest. Olivia's mouth opened sharply. Senior brother, what you look like now? I look scared. Michael was stunned for a moment. How often Olivia is afraid of her own face. Is it just that the broken skin looks a little scarlet? And he's still wearing a panda mask. How cute is this? Michael raised his hand and waved. The panda mask on the face falls off, revealing the twisted face composed of scarlet sword energy. It does look like someone with a rash. His fingertips pinch. Countless white threads intertwined on the face. These threads are extremely thin. Thinner than before. Oriama weaved a pale face on his face like a piece of cloth. Michael's it slides down. 3,000 silver threads spread out behind the head. It looks very strange and beautiful. At this moment, little Olivia was stunned. So handsome, just like walking out of a painting. Seeing Olivia's expression, the corners of Michael's mouth turned up slightly. As expected, relying on the relationship between senior fellow students is not reliable at all. And dealing with women, you have to look at their faces. Appearance is justice. A hand with flowing sword energy and silk, and a handsome sword face. Suddenly, a vigorous cry of joy rang out from the mountains. Michael looked at the sound. I don't know when an old man with white hair appeared on the mountain road. After cheering, the old man turned to look at Olivia again. I couldn't stop laughing. A little teacher is really good at it. He even received an innate sword body. Michael frowned and looked at the old man. Call master, little master. Held so intimately. Could it be that you are my master? The old man's laughter stopped in the center, but a little breath. Can you say this nonsense? I am your master's master. The old man stepped forward and looked at Michael carefully. His cultivation is no better than Alexander and others. Naturally, he saw the other person's physical condition. His brows furrowed more and more tightly. In the end, the whole face turned pale. The sword energy gathers and never disperses. All blood is gone. Still alive like this. Michael didn't take the old man's comments seriously. Die. He is a debtor of heaven. Had a lot of debt. Is God willing to let him die? The boy caught it. This thing might be useful to you. The old man drew a yellow book to Michael. He took it and looked at it carefully. Complete solution to basic weapon refining. Use oneself as a tool. Use spiritual energy as fire. You may be able to find a new path. Michael opens the book. It explains various basic refining methods. Extremely mix. Another money-burning thing. I was practicing the weapon refining technique. I don't know how many spiritual stones I have to smash into it. He is very poor now. When I looked up again, the old man had already left. Michael's eyes scanned the mountains of green bamboos. Suddenly my eyes lit up. Maybe you can practice with the crappiest materials first. This mangosteen is pretty good. Just do what you say. The next day he started chopping bamboo. Practice carving the weapon refining formation on bamboo. This is a delicate job, but it's not difficult for Michael. He can weave his skin with sword energy. Carving formations on bamboo is simply child's play. Senior brother, you chop down master's favorite green bamboo. Will she be angry when she comes back? Of course not. The purpose of planting bamboo is to appreciate the sharpness of bamboo shoots when they break through the ground. This bamboo is actually just super force to master. When Olivia heard it, it made sense. bamboo shoots growing. Standing out from the ground is indeed in line with the principles of swordsmanship. I've seen your brother. Let me help you. Olivia is chopping bamboo on the side. He is practicing formation carving. Very effective. The broken bamboo was thrown aside casually. They can add hundreds of bamboo houses to Jianfeng. After a few days, the sword edge became bare. A low blade looks like a round egg. The bamboo house on the mountain becomes extremely conspicuous. Ethan is leaning on a boulder and drinking a glass of wine, full of satisfaction. Boy, aren't you afraid that your master will come back and kill you? Michael is weaving a radish basket with bamboo strips. I'm replying, whether she can find Jianfeng or not is one thing when she comes back. Besides, Olivia cut the green bamboo. What does it have to do with me? Olivia, who was happily walking over holding a bamboo tube, was startled when she heard this. The bamboo tube on my shoulder rolled to the ground with a crash. The tears couldn't stop rolling in my eyes. Michael glared at Ethan. He hurriedly ran up to comfort Olivia. Oh, Yao, you need to wait with this weapon first. Don't be afraid. I will intercede for you when Master comes back. Olivia's tears rolled down her cheeks. He sniffed and stared at Michael, aggrieved lie. What does interceding for me mean? I'm obviously here to help you chop bamboo. Ethan despises the policeman, Michael. This guy, Lee never does anything. Such a cute and well-behaved little junior sister has to be bullied. It's just crazy. At this moment, a sword light lit up in the sky. It seems that a monk is visiting. The sword light fell to the ground. The visitor was wearing a blue official robe. I'd face and no beard. As soon as I opened my mouth, there was an echo from the charming Yuna. He glanced at the sword's edge. Finally, it fell to Michael. The old slave has finally found you. Her Majesty the Empress has a purpose. Michael straightened up. I feel a little strange in my heart. I have already severed ties with Ava. Why are you chasing me all the way to King Shan? He glanced warily at the imperial edict in the old eunuch's hand. Michael waved his hand. Sorry, as operations. Father-in-law, you go to my guardian to declare the decree. I'm too young to read this. Ethan waved to the eunuch from the side. Bring it over and let me take a look. He didn't care. His hands formed into claws and he grabbed the imperial edict and it flew into his hand. I go. The Empress asked you to go home and inherit the throne. Michael, he stepped forward and casually took a look at the contents of the edict. The general meaning is not much different from what Ethan said. Let him go to the imperial city to receive the title of crown prince. He snared him through the edict back. That girl Ava really has no good intentions. Now that she has ascended to the throne and proclaimed herself emperor, there is a lot of controversy. Although a group of courtiers have been won over, there must also be a large number of nobles and veterans who will rebel. By establishing yourself as the Prince of the East Palace, you can divert the firepower. After all, Ava is also the eldest princess. And even though my surname is Wang, but his surname is also Ye. This is a conspiracy. His edict will divert disaster to the east. I think disapproving courtiers that she only has Michael as heir. As long as Michael is eliminated, Dakin will always belong to the Wang family. The old eunuch hid his hands in his sleeves. Turn a blind eye to the imperial edict thrown back. Anyway, our news imperial edict has been delivered. It is up to the young master to decide whether to return to the imperial city or not. The old slave then took his leave, watching the opponent leave with his sword. The corner of Michael's mouth smiled slightly. It doesn't matter. Strength is the foundation that determines everything. If Ava doesn't dare to kill, he will. He dares to do things that Ava doesn't dare to do. Maidkin has never heard the sound of King Shan's sword. Then Yao. Go to Jianfeng next door and dig some clay. Today we are making pottery. Senior, brother. Will digging for clay make the boss angry? Michael glanced at the little girl. He reached out and rubbed her slightly messy hair. Silly girl. He is the leader, in charge of the entire world-EP06-a mountain. You know how big world-EP06-a is. Patito, 1,000 peaks. Who cares about your clay? Go ahead. Olivia feels the warm palms on her head. I was a little dazed for a while. Brother is so gentle. The palm is warm. The smile is also warm. Even the tone of speaking is. Kissing your brother, Olivia promises to get the job done. In the next half-month, Michael was completely immersed in refining the weapon. He's always very focused on what he does. The content of the art of refining weapons is complex. In the past half-month, he refined the bamboo sword, weaving a radish basket, archery fired, baking wine in pottery. He has already mastered most of the complete explanation of basic weapon refining. The entire Jianfeng Peak was now filled with large and small clay pots. Some of these clay pots can be of varying sizes. Some can store items to create their own space. There are also elixirs that can be planted. Catalyze the growth elixirs. Looking at the densely packed pottery, Michael nodded with satisfaction. If we take all these down the mountain and sell them, we won't be able to make a lot of money. These are all very magic weapons. Let's just talk about the clay pot for storage. Sold to farmers to pack grain. Even if you plow the land all your life, you won't be able to fill it. Inspected a circle of clay pots. He lifted Olivia up from a slightly larger jar. The little girl's face turned yellow at this time. A fairy skirt on my body is stained with a lot of mud. Hiding in a clay pot and sleeping secretly. Olivia, there's a new mission. I thought Jayabi can cut down some pine trees. Olivia mouthed a little unhappy. Senior brother is using her as a boss. As then there was a loud bang in the distance. The sound was as loud as a landslide. The sky trembles. The earth shakes. Michael steadied himself and turned to look. I saw smoke and dust billowing in the direction of Tianfen. Half of the mountain suddenly collapsed. It pushed Olivia's head back into the pot again. I took a lid from the side and put it on. Me tubber. How yow, God Tianfen well. Brother, I'm going down the mountain for a trip. Olivia, who was hiding in a jar, at least hiding a jar, didn't know what happened when she heard this. Senior brother, this is not a trip down the mountain. This is about running away. Senior brother, you can't leave me behind. Olivia jumps out of the clay pot. I hurry up and keep up with Michael. The two of them walked very quickly, but he walked without a sword. It's not that he can't wield a sword, but at this time, Yujian coming down the mountain is to eye-catching. After walking out of the desolate Jianfeng Peak and climbing over to mountains, they will reach Kanglan Peak. There is a wide stream in the mountains here that leads directly to Wangshan City. And he arrived at the stream. Michael took out a clay pot and threw it into the water. Don't look at this clay pot. It looks ugly. Very useful. A clay pot becomes larger when exposed to water. Senior brother, is this really okay? That will definitely work. This is the traveling magic weapon that I refined. Senior brother, borrow the power of heaven and earth, and travel dozens of miles a day. Clay pots flow down the river, swirling in the stream. It is inevitable to bump into rocks. Boom. Yao Yao's little head bumped. I just feel a little dizzy. She didn't have time to think too much. The stream suddenly became rapid. Not long after the two left Jianfeng, dozens of sword lights came from Jianfen. The sword passed the top of Jianfeng Mountain for a while and then turned back again. After walking around the top of the mountain, they finally determined that this was Jianfeng. Jacob and Anthony's swords rested on two large clay pots. The entire Jianfeng Peak is filled with large and small clay pots. Has no place to even put your feet down. Master, this is really Jianfeng. Jacob looks ugly. The originally beautiful Jianfeng Peak is now like a knot on the head of the Buddha. He was extremely angry because Jianfeng collapsed. Now that I see Jianfeng's miserable appearance, I suddenly feel a lot less angry. A consciousness swept around. In addition to the jar, there's a radish basket. There are also bundles of bamboo swords. Although, Michael and Olivia were not found. Promise, don't tell Uncle Moo and Emily about this matter. Anthony nodded and looked towards the bamboo house where Alexander and others lived. Several ceramic kilns were dug there. Passable bamboo houses were blackened by smoke. From today, Anfeng disciples take turns patrolling. After saying that, Jacob Yujian left. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. I obviously want to pretend to be angry, and I can't help but want to laugh. Alexander, he will also have today. Deserve it. The pottery pot floated for a day and finally arrived at the foot of Wangshan City. Olivia opened the lid and crawled out with difficulty, lying on the edge of the jar and retching. Senior brother, this is what you call borrowing the power of heaven and earth. Speaking so loftily, it turns out that I used the current to float down the mountain. I really don't know what I was expecting. Obviously, I have already seen clearly the face of my senior brother, but he still fell for it. Olivia, you are so stupid. Michael climbed out from the bottom of the tank. Lie down next to Olivia. There is indifference and coldness on the face. Ahmed, senior brother, where are we going? Yao looked at the medicinal fields outside the city and Wangshan City not far away and was a little confused for a while. She hasn't been out since she was a child. Later, I went up to Jianfeng Peak and never went down the mountain. It can be said that I am curious and afraid of the outside world. Michael touched Olivia's little head. There was a cold light flashing in the eyes. Cultivation in this world is no better than cultivation in the mountains. A fight for luck. Seize the opportunity. Not as pure and stoic as in the mountains. You can't go to the 100,000 mountains. Master and senior sister are over there. You can't even go to the imperial city of Qin. Recently, a saint will be born in the secret realm in Kinjiju. Let's go join in the fun. Olivia frowned and thought for a while. Now she only dares to believe 3 points of her senior brother's words. She asked skeptically, "Her senior brother, you spend all day refining weapons on the mountain. How do you know that a saint is about to emerge from the secret realm in Kinjiju?" Michael grinned. "Shrink the clay pot and hang it around your waist. Silver hair flying in the wind. Of course I know, because that's the fish nest I made." He smiles wildly. There seems to be a divine light flowing in the eyes. Ivan bright gems emerged from behind and slowly rotated. There is a red sword light flowing on the black windbreaker. All the monks she usually sees are elegantly dressed. How can anyone like me, senior brother, have to use special effects when speaking? Really so handsome. If you are cheated, he cheated. It's impossible for senior brother to harm himself. Right? Senior brother. Danjiju is so far away. They don't know how to wield a sword. How to get there? Michael took Olivia and disappeared instantly. Several hundred meters away, the two figures appeared again. And you see it? This trick is called Ghost Flash, and used for traveling. But it's a long way to Kinjiju. Ghost Flash consumes a lot of money. Senior brother teaches you a way to rush with zero consumption. Yao Yao pulls Michael's black robe. That move just now really shocked her. How she doesn't dare to let go of her little hand for a moment. I'm afraid that my senior brother will suddenly disappear without me. Senior brother, travel without waste. Isn't it just taking advantage of the general trend of the world? She felt a chill when she thought of the clay pot drifting. No, this time I won't take advantage of the power of heaven, but the power of the world. Olivia's eyes lit up. This power in the world does not sound simple. She was actually looking forward to it. At the same time, a sparrow flies high in the sky in Kinjiju. It flew very far without finding a place to settle. The land below is flooded. There are countless ruins floating in eternity. The slightly higher rocks are crowded with people. They look sad, looking desperate. A little lower. The flood waves have passed. The people who originally panicked and called for help disappeared without a trace. I let the people be swept away by the flood and remained indifferent. After the floods recede, rescue the medicinal fields first. As much as you can charge. The monk gave an order. The voice is cold and stern. Lord Jumu has an order. From now on, the surviving people of Kinjiju not allowed to leave the territory without permission. The flood is receding. Some ruined villages began to emerge from the water. Many drowned lived stuck and people were half buried in the mud. There are still several broken bodies hanging on the crooked trees. The little sparrow crossed countless shabby villages. Finally, it stopped on a huge stone, being tens of meters tall. The flood is still receding. A full picture of Xilyang gradually emerged. The carvings of dragons and phoenixes on it are quite simple and spectacular. Below it is a closed stone door. A small crack was opened in the middle of the stone gate by the flood. Through the narrow cracks, you can see the mountains and rivers inside the door. That seems to be another world. On a slope outside Wangjin City, Michael stared at the sky, eyes full of expectations. Senior brother, what are we waiting for? Wait for the news to fly for a while. Here is the route from Kingshan to Kinjiju. Once the news of Kinjiju Saint's secret realm spreads, it will definitely attract a large number of monks to go there. There will definitely be a large number of flying boats passing by then. Senior brother, I'm hungry. There is the big pill that master gave you. Finished eating. First grab the weeds on the roadside to satisfy your cravings. Someone will be passing by soon. Olivia glanced at the top of the mountain. Not even a wild fruit. In the end, I could only stare helplessly at the sky, looking forward to the so-called destined person. This wait is 3 days. A pure white flying boat comes slowly from the sky. Olivia got up excitedly, staring at Ifeiju. His eyes were shining brightly, like a hungry wolf seeing its prey. A senior brother, let's rob it. Michael frowned and looked at the familiar flying boat in the sky. My heart is full of reluctance. Oh yeah, let's change it. No matter how hungry we are, we can't eat shit. No, a senior brother, I'm almost fainting from hunger. Look at the little girl's hungry look. Michael could only sigh helplessly. Never mind, where's my little junior sister? If you don't pamper yourself, who will pamper you? The sound of swords sounded. The sky suddenly lit up. Ample sword lights rise from the ground. Come and stop. The complexion of the blue and white flowers on the flying boat changed drastically. She hurriedly ordered the sword attendant to turn the flying boat around. It's not appropriate to go out today. It's just that it's too late. In the blink of an eye, the figures appeared. One of them has long silver hair, handsome face. The other one is a little girl who puts on hair. Looks like sunken eyes. Outer manuscript. Aloe complexion and thin skin. There is still mud on the face. Take out the food. The little girl looks fierce. As soon as I got on the boat, I stared at King Bie, eyed her fiercely. It gave her a chill in her heart. Is there a mistake? The door to my home is robbed. The 4 swordsmen behind him drew their swords at the same time. A soft and slender sword in King Bie, whose hand also flew out of his sleeve. This time I have to fight no matter what I say. Jiao is the genius of world-EP06-a, leader of the younger generation. I won't let anyone manipulate me. Just how beautiful the dream is, but how cruel the reality is. Michael popped out his fingers and clamped her rapier. The silver hair wrapped around the sword and instantly pierced her eyebrows. Hero, spare your life. The little girl is wrong. She gave in very quickly. He quickly took out the storage bag from his arms and carefully untied the mark of consciousness. Aiko raised his hand and threw a spiritual stone into her hand. Agasa Kanjiju, a chorus of King Bai whose mouth twitched slightly. All right, I met that bastard again. Senior, you, and he used someone else to bully me. Aiko glanced at her. Don't get cheap and still behave well. This time I am entering the Saints' secret realm. If you are lucky, you might get a lot of opportunities. Aiko's face is filled with suspicion. Bullshit Saints' secret realm. There are not many saints in Dokyan. And now Kanjiju is seriously flooded. Maybe there is a water demon as a vote. There was 100 reluctances in her heart. But no one is under the roof. Situation is stronger than people. That senior, we can agree on 3 chapters. You can't lift my veil anymore. Tyler is a pretty little girl. If the veil falls off, you will feel insecure. Once when I was at Xiaoyao Peak, my veil unfortunately fell off. A lustful man was stunned on the spot. I couldn't sleep those days. Always feel. Olivia grabbed Big Yudan and stuffed it into her mouth, with curiosity on his face. He came forward to take a look at this so-called pretty girl. Shut up, you. Michael glared at King Biehua. What she wanted to say later was frightened away. If you keep nagging me, I will stuff Xiao Yao socks into your mouth. Not long after everyone left, the news of the saint's birth in the secret realm spread in King Shan. Suddenly everyone felt that the demon clan battlefield was no longer favorable. How much can you earn by killing a monster with rewards and materials? Entering the saint's secret realm and picking up any elixir is a priceless treasure. Countless geniuses from various sects rushed to Kanjiju. I'm afraid I'll be late and won't be able to drink the soup. On the flying boat, King Bai, who carefully studied the various geniuses who went to the saint's secret realm, this time, her goddess cult is spread all over King Shan. The information we have is extremely rich. The biggest opponent this time is Zhang Cheng from the Return to Peak Holy Land. It is rumored that this person's cultivation has reached the peak of Yuan Ying, carrying the holy body of the Great Way, and fight across levels. Held 3 guards. King Bai, who spoke in an exaggerated tone, stretched out 3 fingers and waved them in front of Olivia. The second one is Lie Chenian, the swordsman of Chanjian Men. Her sword can cut off the stream. You can cut off the tentacles of ants within 3 miles with one sword. She stretched out 2 index fingers and rubbed them evenly on her head. I imitated the appearance of an ant. Olivia looks shocked. Abbas opened his mouth with an extremely shocked expression. But this is nothing. The most terrifying thing is the scheming prince of the Marshal of the Qin Kingdom. It is rumored that he possesses god-level dark spiritual roots. Take control of the night, and crawl out of your shadow and attack. If it's night, whoever is caught will die. Even if you reach for the stars, it won't work. She said as she secretly manipulated a white ribbon to stick out from behind Olivia. Ribbon patted the latter's shoulder lightly. Olivia was so frightened that she exclaimed, brother, save me. Aiko's forehead was covered with black lines and he turned his head. You dare to scare my junior sister again. I will strip you naked and hang you on the bow of the boat. But don't worry. When the time comes, I will leave the veil on for you. The King Bai who shuddered. She now knows Michael's identity. The nightmare of many male cultivators in Wando-Shen. A culprit of digging Tianfeng. This guy can do anything. How did she fall into the hands of this bastard? I am simply jealous of beauty. As the flying boat approaches Kanjiju, there are more and more flying boats around, all heading in one direction. It seems that many sects have got the news and are coming. The boundary of Kanjiju in the Qin dynasty ahead. State Animal Husbandry Order. Entrants need to pay 1,000 spiritual stones. Aiko looked coldly at the monk standing in front of him. Arkin allocated a lot of disaster relief funds to Kanjiju. These disgraceful guys even started begging for food on the roadside. Get out of the way, or die. Several monks smiled and looked at Lord Yutian on the bow of the boat, with contempt and disapproval in his eyes. If they dare to take this job, they naturally have a few brushes. Here comes someone who is not afraid of death. I few buddies. At work to do. The woman stays. A man killed. Aiko's eyes became colder and colder. He was the only man on the whole ship. Isn't this directed at myself? How dare you look down on me? The 7 brilliant gems emerged from behind. Red gem shines brightly. A flaming sword condensed in the hand, feeling the astonishing murderous intent. The faces of the monks blocking the road changed drastically. They retreated crazily. A red sword light lights up from the bow of the ship. The monstrous flames slash down. Everything along the path passed by the sword light was vaporized. The weapons they hurriedly raised were also evaporated by the heat. When the flames dissipate, only a piece of glue remains. It's not. Aiko turned and looked to the side. There is a warship approaching. This warship is extremely huge. There were hundreds of people standing there, wearing uniform black armor. A man in black on the bow of the boat lightly cupped his fists towards Michael. Under the dark night, at the king of Zenbi, Michael flicked his sleeves and turned around and entered the cabin. Prince of the Marshal of the district. What status? Also worthy of talking to myself. Seeing Michael ignoring me, a hint of gloom flashed in the dark night's eyes. He's just a lost dog. Let's see how long you can stay cool. Someone coming? Sent the news of King Zenbi's appearance in Kinjiju back to the Imperial City. He knows it. Now in the Qin dynasty, whether those who support Ava or those who oppose Ava, everyone wants Michael to die. This place will become his hell. He will face the blockade-and pursuit of the entire Darkin court. Even if he were to Jingxian, he would definitely die. Crown Prince. Shall we take action? I sergeant behind the mask. At night smiles calmly. Need not. Let's just watch the excitement. If he were hiding in the Green Mountains, the officials would still be a little wary. But he just doesn't know whether to live or die. I want to see how he survives in this quagmire. I want him to kneel down and beg me. Flying boat across mountains and rivers. A huge door appears in front of the sky. This door stands on the void. The doors are surrounded by exquisite relief. The door panel is flat and smooth, emitting a soft light. This door alone is a rare treasure. If you remove the refining weapon, you can definitely create a good magic weapon. Senior brother, is this the secret realm of the saint? This secret gate is too magical, right? There is a small world inside. Like a laugh. Oh yo, like the saliva from the corner of your mouth. Isn't it just a door? Look at the clay pot on my senior brother's waist. I will practice more in the future. It can still hold a small world. Or worse than this door. Olivia glanced at the dark clay pot. The thought of this junk made her disgusted. Scanning the surroundings, are nearly 100 flying boats suspended in the air. Among them are the sects in Qingshan. There are also aristocratic families in the court. There are also hundreds of thousands of monsters smuggled out of the mountains. It can be said that there are all kinds of people. Seeing Olivia, she has never seen the world. A look with big glaring eyes. Michael pulled Olivia over and explained it carefully. Don't look around. At times like this, your eyes become more distracted. It means the more guilty you are. In this way, others will think that you are a soft person who can be manipulated at will. Olivia nodded obediently. The wandering eyes finally came back, staring blankly at the crack in the door. Senior brother, how can I make people think that I am not easy to bully? You are optimistic. Brother, I will only do it once. It's up to you how much you can understand. Michael smiled and touched Olivia's little head. His eyes suddenly turned cold. First step, and get a head start. He took one step and floated outside the airship. He glanced around at the many flying boats. People came in good numbers. A bunch of trash dares to compete with me for this opportunity. It's just a matter of life and death. The gems behind him rotated into a colorful halo. Black trench coat floating in the air. A scarlet sword energy exudes a dangerous aura like a stream of light. The people on the surrounding flying boats are all looking towards this direction. Look solemn. Olivia's big eyes are sparkling with blind worship. Building hands. Once you enter this door, I'd start running for your life. But he stepped out again and reached the stone gate. He raised his palm and pressed it toward the giant door. Lift. A loud rumbling sound came. The slender door gap slowly becomes larger. Michael turns sideways. With one hand on your abdomen, one hand slowly points to the door. Please enter the jar. No one dared to move among the flying boats, and most of them arrived earlier than Zhu Tian. I have worked together before but failed to shake the stone gate at all. Now the other party just opened the stone, with a light on. The gap here is really terrifying. This makes none of the talented people dare to act trashly. Michael's face flashed with sarcasm when no one took action. He turned around and took a step forward to return to the flying boat. Pulled out a deck chair from the cabin and lay down. King Bi, who wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Her heartbeat was in her throat just now. Everyone present is from the top hours. Stubborn temperament. Once you do it, it will be really bad luck. Big brother, are you being too arrogant? No. I haven't even killed a few people to establish my authority. Already very restrained. Time passes slowly. No one has dared to step in first. Those who arrived later didn't dare to act for a while when they saw that the door was open and no one was going in. Until night falls. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed away at the gate of the secret realm. It's the Prince Enyi, the Marshal of the Great Qin Kingdom. He went in, but an exclamation sounded. Countless monks rushed towards the secret realm at the same time. Among them, several figures are the fastest. Zhang Chen looks like an ancient titan in the holy land of return to the peak. A burly body runs rampant. The monks who were running slowly were knocked into blood mist by him. Han giant man swordsman Li A Chenny and is like a bolt of lightning. It's also surprisingly fast. Hearing the noise, Michael opened his eyes slightly and yawned. The monks these days are really cautious. I just stood there waiting all day. He glanced at the people filing in the low inside. There are a few reaching for the stars. I don't know if there is an entry point hidden in it. Oh, yeah. Come over. Olivia obediently moved closer to her. The senior brother. Why don't we go in and grab the baby? What are you panicking about? Michael took Olivia's little hand. He stretched out his index finger and drew a circle on her palm. A wisp of breeze condenses and slowly rotates.